What is going on, my fellow navigators, and welcome back to another video. Today is the first episode of a new series that I'm starting called Save It or Grade It, where I analyze booster boxes from various Pokemon TCG sets to help you all determine if that particular booster box is a better investment decision to either hold it for the long term or to go ahead and break that booster box open and have the individual cards graded. But before we get started, guys, you know what to do. Go ahead and give me that double slap attack, one for that like button, one for that subscribe button, and if you want to be notified each and every time one of these investment videos drops, go ahead and thunder punch that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. And with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and jump right into today's discussion. Now, I've been getting the question a lot, especially over the last couple months, from people from the community asking me, hey, PokéNav, I've got my eye on this particular booster box, especially of a vintage variety, but I'm not sure if I want to buy it and hold it for the long term, or if I should buy it and try to sell the cards individually after I've gotten them graded. So I really wanted to make this video here today to address some of those concerns, to address some of the questions that many of you have. And this is a technique that I use to help me determine, one, if a booster box is worth either holding for the long term or trying to grade the individual cards and sell them off one by one. And it's also a good technique to use to look at the price relativity of these particular booster boxes. And when I say price relativity, I'm talking about the value or the total cost of the booster box, so what you would purchase it for, versus the value of the cards on the inside. So this will also help you guys determine if the booster box that you're buying is actually on par with what is exactly inside. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And the first booster box that we're going to discuss here today is a first edition Team Rocket booster box. So what I want to do, I know we have a lot of new people in the community, so let's just go ahead and run through exactly what the Team Rocket set is. So we're going to jump on over to the screen here, and we are on Bulbapedia. Now, Bulbapedia is a great resource to use to find out pretty much any information on any and all TCGs for Pokemon ever released. So you can see here, Team Rocket is the name given to the 5th main expansion of the cards of the Pokemon trading card game. The set continues to feature Generation 1 Pokemon of the card game. So this was released, at least in English, back on April 24th of 2000. In Japan, it was released on November 21st, 1997. And there were 83 total cards in the English set and 65 in Japanese. Now, the cool thing about Team Rocket is it was the first time that we saw Dark Pokemon. And Dark Pokemon, you know, really the theme of Team Rocket, obviously Team Rocket's a nefarious gang, and so the Dark Pokemon essentially symbolized maybe Pokemon that Team Rocket had in their arsenal. So as you'll see here, the prefix Dark was preferred over the other viable options like bad or potentially sensitive, evil Pokemon. So this is the set list here for Team Rocket. Here on the left is the English version. On the right is the Japanese. And as you can see here, you've got the first, what do we have? First 17 cards are the Holo Rares: Dark Alakazam, Dark Arbok, Dark Blastoise, and the big man himself, Dark Charizard. So many beautiful cards in this particular set. You know, if any of you are familiar with this set out there, there's a lot of fan favorite cards in Team Rocket. But as you can see, this is the total set here, and it was also the first set to feature a secret Pokemon card, and that would be the Dark Raichu. And as you can see there, it's secret because it was 83 out of 82. So there's 83 total cards in this set, but that Dark Raichu is that secret rare card, and that was the first time that it was featured. So that's just a little bit of background on Team Rocket, and you know, just a little bit of you know, exactly when it came out and for those of you that are new, what you can expect in this particular set. So now that you've got a little bit of background on the Team Rocket set, and today's purposes, we're speaking in regards to the first edition booster box for Team Rocket, let me go ahead and give you some of the analytics that I'm going to be using to basically pinpoint whether this is a set that you want to hold for the long term or whether you can go ahead and break it open and sell those cards off individually. So the first thing that we're going to utilize here is on a website called Pokémon Price. Now, I've referred to this in the past. Pokémon Price is an analytics page which is put out by E4. So you can go to PokemonPrice.com. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, click on Analytics, and the page that we're going to be utilizing is Market Cap for Sets. And as you can see here, the set that we're featuring is Team Rocket First Edition. Other thing that I want to note here is that we're showing the market cap data for all PSA 10 grades on these individual cards. So as you can see, we're showing the last sale price for all of the cards in this set, at least those that Pokémon Price has data on. So for our purposes today, the only column that I'm really going to be utilizing is the last sale price. Now, a better measure might be the 60-day median price. However, as you can see here, we don't have all of the information. Some of these are not available for that. So for my purposes, what I like to use is just the last sale price. It should give you at least a pretty good indication of what cards are currently going for. Now, it might seem obvious just to go with the PSA 10s and use that for our barometer for what the value of this set might be. But as you know, not every card that you're going to pull out of here is going to be in a PSA 10 condition. So what I also want to do, and what you guys can do at home, is if you go right here to the grade data, you can also select anywhere from a PSA 10 down to a PSA 1. So we'll go ahead and go over to a PSA 9 as well. And as you can see here, that price drops down pretty significantly from PSA 10 to a PSA 9. And, just to kind of give you an example here, we'll just use the Charizard here at the top. PSA 10, $3,400 was the last sale price. If we jump down to a PSA 9, you can see it drops down pretty tremendously down to $920, and that really goes for most cards in this set. Now, when you get down into some of the commons, even some of the uncommons, you'll see that there's not as big of a price difference from a PSA 10 to a PSA 9, but we want to include that information in our overall data that we're going to be utilizing to find the total value of this set. Now, you can also go into, PSA 8, PSA 7, down through here, but I will forewarn you that the lower that you go, the less market data that you're going to have, because as I've talked about in a previous video, when you start getting into those particular grades, most investors, collectors out there are going to try for a regrade, especially if they think that it came back in a lesser grade than what they were expecting. So the market data for that is going to be very limited. So for our purposes today, and what I utilize for myself, is we're going to be using both the PSA 10 and the PSA 9 data here, and then we're going to get the average valuation of those two. So I don't want to just use PSA, just solely PSA 10 or just solely PSA 9. I'm going to use those two together because, when you open up a booster box, as I said, they're not all going to be in perfect condition. And, admittedly, there may be some that are PSA 8, PSA 7, PSA 6, who knows what condition they might be in. But for purposes of data, the best data that we're going to have is PSA 10s and PSA 9. So this will at least give us an estimate of what the overall valuation of all of the individual cards in this particular set are going for. So on top of that, we don't want to just know what the value of the individual cards in the set are. We also want to know what is the booster box going for on the open market. So for that, what I've done is we're going to jump on over to eBay. Now, For the first edition Team Rockets, normally I like to go through and I like to look at recently sold data here, but as you can see, there's not a lot out there. And, these are just recently sold. Now, we don't know if this was the exact price that somebody paid for this. You can see here that the one that sold on October 10th sold for $10,600, but that may not be the actual sale price. Normally, like I've said, I like to use a feature called Flipper Tools, which is put out by eBay, but it has been down lately. It looks like it's due to spam. So you can see here, last one, $10,600. Here's one for $11,200. But for today, what I want to do is just see what booster boxes are going for without being sold. So you can see here we've got 8,100, 9,900, 8,900, 9,100. So you want to just kind of get an estimate or an average of what those booster boxes are going for on the open market. So for this, if we take the average of these booster boxes that are listed here, and this is pretty congruent from what I've seen on other sites as well. The average price for a booster box, first edition Team Rocket booster box, factory sealed, everything like that. The average price is about $9,000. That's about what it's going for at this point in time. But this is going to be an important metric that we're going to need to, again, determine if we want to go ahead and buy this booster box, if the price relativity is worth it. Like I said before, if the cards inside the set, the value of those are equal to or greater than the sale price of the overall booster box. So what I've done here is I've taken all of the data, compiled all of that from Pokemon Price, and then I've included in the price of the booster box. So let me go ahead and pull up this Excel spreadsheet here. So as you can see, we've got Team Rocket First Edition here at the top. On the left-hand side of the screen is all of the PSA 10 data from Pokemon Price. Over on the right-hand side is all of the data for PSA 9s for the Team Rocket First Edition. So if we scroll down here to the bottom, essentially all I've done is I've taken the sum total of all of the PSA 10 recently sold prices here. And that amounts to, in that PSA 10 grade, it amounts to a total valuation for the first edition Team Rocket set of $24,401.20. Now, if we jump on over here to the PSA 9, you can see it drops down very significantly. It drops down to $7,279.68. Now, the only one for the PSA 9 data that we didn't have for this particular set was the PokéNav First Edition, which is the last one down here. But I just went through a search on eBay out on the open market. It looks like PokéNav First Edition and PSA 9s are going for around $25. So I just went ahead and plugged that in down here to go ahead and compensate for the lack of data on Pokemon Price. So again, $24,000, $7,000 for PSA 10, PSA 9 respectively. Now, as I said before, we want to take the average of that, because when you open up a booster box, you're not just going to get all PSA 10s or all PSA 9s. It's going to be a mixture of the two, and obviously you're going to have some 8s, 7s, 6s in there, possibly. But like I said before, most of the data that we have are going to be for PSA 10, PSA 9s, and really overall, guys, we're just wanting to get an overall outlook on whether this set is, one, worth buying in the first place if you want to buy that booster box, and secondly, whether you should keep it sealed or if it's a good idea to go ahead and break it open and grade those cards. So what I've done is I've just taken the total of these two, so for the PSA 9s, PSA 10s, and then divided it by the two. So the average cost for a Team Rocket First Edition booster box, taking this data into consideration, is $15,840.44. Now, if you do decide to go ahead and sell these cards individually, if you decide to break the booster box open and sell these cards individually, you have to take costs into mind. And one of the biggest costs of doing this is the cost of grading itself. Now, for purposes of simplicity, I went ahead and just calculated the cost of going through our friends over at Graded Gem. You know, I've talked about Graded Gem in the past. They actually offer really good prices. And so I've used their data, you know, the overall price of having these cards graded. So the cost of grading, as I said before, there's 83 cards in the total Team Rocket set. Now we're using basically the overall data for if you wanted to complete a master set. Now this isn't to say that if you busted open a first edition Team Rocket booster box, maybe you get a couple, you know, Charizards in there, maybe you get a couple Blastoises in there, and especially if they're in, you know, a PSA 10 quality, you know, right there, it almost makes the cost of the booster box well worth it. But for simplicity's sake, and just as I said, to get an overall feeling of what a set is like and if it's worth investing in the first place, what I've done is I've just taken the total amount of cards in that set, and if we were completing a master set, and if you wanted to sell that full graded master set. So to have 83 cards graded with Graded Gem is $829.17. So if we take the average of the two, so the total value here, we go ahead and subtract the cost of grading, that gives us a total valuation here of $15,011.27. Now, as we said before, we started looking at what booster boxes were going for on the open market, and we came to the conclusion, or at least I came to the conclusion, you guys can disagree with me, but the average cost of a booster box, first edition Team Rocket, is around $9,000. So first of all, the first point that I want to make here is, you know, with that average $15,840.44, if you were just wanting to keep this booster box sealed, this gives you an indication if you're able to buy the box for $9,000, but we see here that the estimated valuation of the cards in the set, again, using that price relativity measure, we can see that the cards on the inside are quite a bit more valuable than the going or the asking price for the total or for the booster box itself. And that's ultimately what you want to see. You know, we run into sets, especially modern and ultra modern sets, where it doesn't really add up. And what I mean by that is the value of the cards in the set sometimes don't even come close to what the booster boxes are being asked for on the open market. So I would say in this case, first edition Team Rocket booster boxes, I would say you might even consider them undervalued at this point, considering what you might be able to pull in there. Now, again, this is just a generalized example. You could open a booster box and not get a single Charizard, single Blastoise, single Dragonite. You could get nothing but, you know, there's a lot of Dark Weezings that you can pull from there. There's a lot of Dark Doug Trios that you can pull from there. But overall, I would say that the valuation of this set is quite good from a price relativity standpoint. So let's say that you want to go ahead and have these cards graded. So we've talked about before, cost of grading. If you wanted to do a master set, $829.17. That would leave you with $15,011.27 here. Now, what we also want to deduct from that is the cost of the booster box itself. So that gives you an estimated profit margin here of $6,011.27 if you are wanting to have those cards graded. And I know, guys, this doesn't take into consideration things like shipping costs or the cost of fees associated with selling these products on sites like eBay or Mercari. You can take off probably about 10% of whatever your selling price is for those individual cards. But this is going to differ for everybody, especially when it comes to shipping, depending on if you're shipping domestically or internationally. But like I said, this is just going to give you an estimate of whether this set overall is either worth keeping sealed or having those cards graded. So in synopsis here, I would say for a first edition Team Rocket booster box, for the average valuation here of, almost $16,000. The fact that booster boxes are going on the open market for an average of about $9,000, I would say from a price relativity standpoint, it is a good set to invest in either way, whether you want to keep it sealed or whether you want to have it graded. But if you do want to go down the route of having that card graded and you don't want to wait, for a period of time to pass for that booster box to increase in value on its own, I would say that you can reap a profit margin on this. And based upon the measures and the data that we've gone over here today, by my calculation, if you were to sell that off, you might be looking at an estimated profit margin, I would say, of anywhere from probably $5,000 to maybe $6,000, depending on various factors, how much it's going to cost you to ship those products, how much it's going to cost you in fees to list those products on sites like eBay or Mercari, and any other extraneous costs associated with that. But I think it definitely presents a good opportunity out there for anyone that is wanting to sell these cards individually. So moving on to our second set here, now that you guys have a good idea of the data that I'm using and the way that I'm coming to the conclusion with my calculations, we should be able to get through this one a little bit more quickly than the first. But the other set that I wanted to go ahead and discuss here today is Base Set 2. Been getting a lot of questions from folks in the community about Base Set 2 and whether it's worth buying and holding for the long term, whether it's worth buying and opening it up and having the individual cards graded, or whether it's actually a good idea to buy a booster box in the first place from a price relativity standpoint. So again, just to give you a quick synopsis here of Base Set 2. So it is the name given to the fourth main expansion of cards from the Pokemon TCG. And now it is a reprint. It's essentially a reprint of the first three sets. So Base Set, Jungle, and Fossil. So it features cards from those first three sets. And because it is a reprint, it does not have a Japanese equivalent. So there is 130 cards in this set, and it was released back on February 24th of 2000. And, back in the day, I can remember this set was not very popular because it was a reprint, but it has seen a resurgence over the last couple years. And I think it's because as, especially Base Set is becoming more and more expensive, people are turning to alternatives, and there are still those three big chase cards from Base Set, Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise that is featured in Base Set 2. So you're seeing more and more people migrating over to Base Set 2 and investing in this particular set. So we'll just run through the set list here. As I said, on 130 cards, and it's got a lot of the cards from, as I said, from Base Set, Jungle, Fossil. As you can see here, we'll just click on the Charizard here really quick. Now, that is not the same Charizard. I don't know why that one popped up, but it is the Base Set Charizard. Same design, same print, everything from Base Set. It just features that Base Set 2 insignia in the the lower right-hand corner of the artwork. So we'll just run through this here really quick so you guys can get an idea of what is in there. But pretty big set. Here's some of the pack arts that were featured. I really love the pack arts for Base Set 2. So nostalgic. I remember these so vividly from my childhood. Here's the top of the booster box here. They also had really cool theme decks as well. But that's just a little synopsis, like I said, of Base Set 2. We'll jump on over to Pokemon price so that you guys can take a look at this. Again, we're going to be using the average of the data for both PSA 10s and PSA 9s using Pokemon price as our source for this data. Now, the difference between this one and Team Rocket, which I do need to mention here, is we do have a lot of cards in this particular set that we don't have data for. So for the PSA 10s, we've got 23 cards missing market cap data. And then for PSA 9s, we've got a total of 32 cards missing market cap data. Now, realistically with this one, as you go down here, most of these are going to be commons and uncommons. And as you can see here, they're probably going to be right around $1 in that particular range for most of these. As you can see here, you've got Tauros, Weeping Bell, Bellsprout, Scoop Up, Pokemon Center. A lot of these are commons and uncommons. So just to get a little bit of an estimate on these, what I've done is I've just supplanted a $1 figure for those cards that we are missing. I mean, to go through and try to find each of these out on the open market would take an enormous amount of time, and most of them are going to be right around $1 anyways. So I just went ahead and supplanted a $1 figure there for those cards that we are missing data on. Now, on top of that, out on the open market, as you can see here, I've just got a few listings on eBay, 8,000, 14,000, 999, 11, and 20,000. Now, this one, I'm not sure what this Christmas bonus that's featured with that, but they're really increasing the price on that, and that's definitely a premium. But overall on base set 2, the average price that you're going to find out on the open market is about $11,000. Now, you may find it for less, you may see it for more, but the overall price for that is about $11,000 is what it's going for out on the open market. So now that we've got that information, we're going to go ahead and pull up our spreadsheet here. And as you can see, we've got base set 2. Same as before, on the left-hand side, we've got all of the PSA 10 data. On the right-hand side, we've got all PSA 9 data for all of these cards retrieved from Pokemon Price. Now, here at the bottom, you'll see for the PSA 10s, we had 23 cards that had no data. Now, I've just supplanted $23 for that because, as I said, most of those cards are right around that $1 mark. So we've got $23 there. And for the PSA 9s, we've got a same thing. There, when you get into those commons and uncommons, there's not a whole lot of difference in price in those commons and uncommons for the most part, especially in these sets. When you get back to sets like Shadowless, for instance, those commons and uncommons, they can be drastically different. But for base set 2, not a whole lot of difference there. So again, for the PSA 9s, I've just supplanted $32 there. So, give or take, over, under, it may be more, it may be less than that. But again, this is just going to give us an overall picture of the valuation of this particular set. So overall for the PSA 10s, if you bring that total value together, $18,711.82. For the PSA 9s, $3,852.03. The average of those two would be $11,281.93. So as I said, the average price going on the open market, about $11,000. Overall, if we take our estimated data here from Pokemon Price, then we're right around that. You're right around that valuation. So that tells you that, around that $11,000 mark for a booster box is right around what you would expect to pay and should be paying out on the open market based upon that price relativity measure. Now, for the cost of grading, again, we're going to use graded gem as our unit of calculation here. So for 130 cards, again, if we're completing a master set, we're getting all cards graded here. The total cost for that would come out to $1,298.70. And if we go ahead and deduct that from the average value of the booster box, that brings it to $9,983.23. And as I said before, the average cost of a booster box around $11,000. Now, as you'll see here, if we take the total valuation and the average cost of the booster box, what you can see is that our profit margin is non-existent. We're actually in the negative here by about $1,000. So this is something that you can look at again to get an overall picture. So I would say for base set 2, at least right now, that's saying if you're able to pick it up at that $11,000 mark. If maybe you're able to get it for less than that, $8,000, that is going to be a big determining factor in being able to pick up that particular booster box, because after everything being said and done, again, this time we're not taking into consideration cost of shipping or the fees to sell individual cards, but we do know that the average valuation of a base set 2 booster box from a price relativity standpoint, $11,281. If you're able to pick that up for maybe $8,000, then it may be worth it in that case to go ahead and have those cards graded. But if you're picking it up for around that average cost of $11,000, I would say that if you can get it for $11,000, again, that is on par with the value of the cards inside. But I would say if you do pick it up for that price, then I would go ahead and hold this product for the long term. But if you're able to get it for less than that, maybe $9,000, maybe $8,000, it may be worth it in that case to go ahead and have those individual cards graded and then resold. But as you can see here, from using these particular metrics and this data, I would say that at this time, it is probably a better option to go ahead and keep that base set 2 booster box sealed and just allow that particular product to increase in price over the long term. So hopefully this information has been helpful to you guys. I know a lot of you out there have been asking me to do a video on really ROI, price relativity, looking at various different booster boxes from different sets. And this is really the protocol that I use for myself to, again, one, determine if the price that is being asked for a booster box is on par with the value of the cards inside. Two, whether if I do buy that booster box, if I should either hold it for the long term or if it might be a better investment decision to crack that box open and try to sell those cards off individually. So there's a lot of different measures here, but I think based upon the information that we've gone over here today, this at least gives you an kind of overall maybe 1,000-foot approach to coming to this conclusion for yourself. You can use the same type of data that I've utilized here today. Very simple to plug this into a spreadsheet and at least give yourself a head start or a step in the right direction in coming to the right decision. And, as I've said, this is really not an all-encompassing measure. There's a lot of different approaches that you can take with something like this. This also isn't taking into consideration if you wanted to break the box open and then try to sell off individual packs. That's another route that you can certainly take, depending on what kind of premium you want to charge on those packs by selling them again on the secondary market. You also want to see, what packs are going for. If you want to, if you're going to go down the route of weighing packs, what are heavy packs going for? What are light packs going for? And then you can come to a conclusion if maybe that route is better for you as well. But for today's purposes and from the request from many people in the community, I wanted to give you this kind of background, this kind of knowledge in determining, hey, should I keep this box? Should I save it? Or should I open it and have those individual cards graded? So hopefully I've done a good job of that here today, guys. I do appreciate all of you asking this question, and I think this will help a lot of you out, especially those of you out there that are new to the hobby. I think this will at least give you a foundation into coming into a decision as to whether you should save it or grade it. So thank you so much for being here today, guys. Thank you so much for coming back each and every week. This community is growing like crazy. There is no stopping us now, and I appreciate your support more than I can say. Other than that, guys, I will see you all next time. My name is PokéNav. I'm here to help you navigate the world of Pokemon one video at a time, and I will see you all in the next video.